Yeet or no yeet on a huge title change. And regardless, for Ron, I'm sure he'll make a killings, we stop the 10 count. Next. I am completely floored by that title change on Raw, so I think that means the ref is about to start the 10 count. Topic number 1, the World Heavyweight Championship match on Raw. Well, that was not expected, as I personally think that was the least likely result of any result you really could have thought up for that match between Jay and Gunther. And should we have seen it? I know that we've had many matches where Gunther sees an advantage and he certainly exploits it. And when we saw Jay with those ribs all bandaged up, well, that just might have been the end for Jay. So was this the case where the spineless keyboard warriors won, as John Cena would say earlier in the night? Well, I mean, maybe? I think so, as Jay always seemed to get more dislikes than likes whenever he picked up those big wins at the Royal Rumble or at WrestleMania. So I guess maybe the WWE is actually starting to listen to us? I don't know. Maybe not. Probably not. Regardless, is this the end for Jay? I don't know. This could lead us to a trilogy at Night of Champions, because now Gunther needs a match and there's not a lot of time for them to figure something new out. And with the King of the Ring tournament now going on, there's a lot less choices available than usual, so it certainly makes sense for Jay to get one more crack at this before he has to go away and leave for a little bit. But at least this match made a lot of sense in its psychology of Gunther going for those ribs, even though he ended up not winning that way. Regardless, thank you, Jay. It was a good try, but I think we're probably better off going forward with a different champion. So we'll see what happens at Night of Champions and if a certain someone happens to make a return there. So that remains to be seen, but I guess we'll find out with this new champion. But let's go to topic number 2, which is Money in the Bank, and I gave it a B- on Saturday night. Was that a bit too harsh? I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit too harsh sometimes when the swerves that we get are not the swerves that I'm expecting. So let's break it down quickly. We had 2 really great women's matches. Everyone had strong moments in the women's ladder match, especially the rookies. They looked really great, especially Roxanne, I would say. And, you know, Julia and Stephanie certainly did their thing as well. And Rhea looked really good considering it was her first ladder match ever, which is a truly shocking thing to say considering how long she's been around at this point. And of course, Alexa, the veteran, amazing stuff as always, but Naomi was the right call. She'll do great with that briefcase. And Becky winning was also the right call. She, of course, let Lyra still look great, and I can't believe she didn't win with that second rope manhandle slam, because I'm a little sick of these roll-up wins here. And also the post-match, they lingered a little bit too long with that hand-raising and the belt putting on. But it was not quite as good as the first match, but still really good. Unfortunately, no Bayley, but of course, we got her 2 nights later on Raw. Now, the IC title, it was a nothing match. Glad that the distraction by Liv was muted. Dom keeps getting better every match, so that was great. The Breaker, Reed, Fatu, Mateo interfering in the men's ladder match, all expected. It really didn't land for me. Very unfortunate. El Grande Americano's run up the ladder was really cool. That was great. Of course, with the loaded headbutt as well. And of course, we really would have liked Roman Reigns to come back. So the Fatu Sikoa thing we'll talk about more later. Not quite as good as we wanted, but Rollins, the right choice. And in the main event, well, R-Truth coming back. Absolutely amazing. Otherwise, this match was pretty bad and tried to ruin wrestling because it was super slow. But speaking of R-Truth, let's go to topic 2, Ron Killings. This guy, we've said so many things about him already, but you could say so many more because this was truly one of the biggest moments of the entire wrestling year. So thank you, R-Truth. Absolutely fantastic stuff that you did at Money in the Bank. I'm really glad that you made WWE change their minds with a little help from us. I'm glad that you gave us some of that credit. And I really like the report that you simply didn't answer the phone until Nick Khan got involved personally. You really stood up for everything that you believed in there, and you certainly gave us the props as well. So thank you, R-Truth, and I'm really excited to see what you will now be doing as yourself, Ron Killings. It's really nice when a person can just let down their guard and be who they really are. So yet again, thank you, Ron Killings. And that takes us to topic number 4, which is King and Queen of the Ring. Was this a last-minute decision by WWE? Because if it wasn't, it's pretty strange that Night of Champions isn't just King and Queen of the Ring again. I don't know. It seems all a little weird. We've got the same stakes as last year, which is a title chance at SummerSlam, which is great and all, but I don't know, will that make things a little bit too predictable? I don't know. Nonetheless, I also think this tournament feels a little bit too soon after those Money in the Bank qualifying matches, and it all just is a little rushed, but we're certainly going to have quite a glut of PLEs and other premier events going on a lot already, so it's just going to keep continuing. But at least these matches were loaded. Sami Zayn was an obvious choice to go to at least the finals here, so it was good to see him get a win. Roxanne continues to needle live, but you have to admit they look pretty good working together, though I would have been picking Rhea here with those stakes of getting that title match at SummerSlam. However, we will talk a lot more about that on Friday. So let's go to topic number 5, which is Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa, and we need a SmackDown topic to talk about. And of course, we talked a little bit about that as it pertains to Money in the Bank, but going back to SmackDown, there were really 3 things that made this go all gas and no brakes. First with Rollins calling out Fatu, and then Fatu immediately getting pushed off of the apron when Jimmy superkicked Mateo, and then during the match when Fatu was distracting himself, then Mateo ran and knocked him over again, and then of course the kicker was Sikoa saying, all gas, no brains. So I guess we really should have thought that this was the only thing that could possibly happen at Money in the Bank. Unfortunately, it was still a letdown that we did not get the OTC returning. And also, now that Damian Priest segment looks a little weird because he's eventually coming for Fatu now. I thought he was going right for him, but I guess they're both faces, so pretty strange, right? All right, let's go to our winner of the week, and that is AAA and Worlds Collide. What a fun event that was. I'm glad it was just streaming on YouTube so anyone could watch it. We got 5 pretty great matches now, didn't we? And I certainly think Vikingo looked the most amazing with that 630 splash and that amazing spiked Mexican Destroyer off of the apron. And I even thought Chad Gable had actually pile-drived Vikingo into the mat off of the top rope, but I guess it did just barely become enough for a sit-out powerbomb instead. And who would have guessed that Mr. Iguana would really be the winner of the night? Everyone fell in love with that guy immediately, and also, of course, Yeska. I love that Spanish fly onto Yeska by Lince Dorado. That was my move of the night, even though some could possibly say that the Devil's Kiss with Stephanie and Lola was actually the move of the night. However, congrats to both AAA and WWE. Great night. And let's flip that over and go to the loser of the week. Second straight week, unfortunately, it is main event Jey Uso, because this main event run might just be over. Jay, if this was it, I'm sorry, man, this was a little too short of what I was expecting. I really thought you were at least getting to SummerSlam with this title. I thought you at least deserved as much as Damian Priest here, so I am pretty shocked that this happened. It's the second time now that this has happened on Raw, with Rhea losing right after her PLE, and she lost to Io. But she's won so many times that that doesn't really matter for her. For Jay, this is just simply a bummer. I never thought he should have gotten this title in the first place, but I think he deserves a little bit better than this. And to make matters worse, in addition to losing with that sleeper that he tried over and over to lock in, but Gunther got it the most, it was him looking bad in the main event on Money in the Bank. He just was the number 4 man out of everyone, so truly a bummer. Hopefully he can recover from here. So our stat of the week, it is Roxanne Perez. I think she's doing quite well on the main roster, and in fact she's won 2 huge matches already. First that Money in the Bank qualifier, and now this Fatal 4-Way in the first round of the Queen of the Ring tournament. But surprisingly enough, she is only 4-16 in all televised matches so far. Now I have to say, she's got 12 main roster matches already, even though she was just moved up to the main roster on May 19th. She had plenty of matches before she was officially on the main roster, But in addition, she had 8 matches on NXT TV, and you would be absolutely stunned to know that she went 0-8 in those matches, which is somehow she has now become just 4-16. However, it certainly looks like WWE believes in her and she'll be just fine. It looks like I was just barely able to beat the ref and stop the 10 count. And here on the SportsZu, we are always able to handle the truth. But if you miss me handling my Money in the Bank review in a special Stop the 10 count, be sure to go right on over here and check that out. So until next time, I am the SportsZu, and this has been Stop the 10 Count.